While I was sitting in gridlock on a Greyhound bus waiting to get into the Lincoln Tunnel, I saw an unusual item discarded on the side of the highway, a strap. And I'm not talking about a seatbelt or a firearm. I'm talking about the only type of strap that I can't show you here on YouTube. The type fitting for the month of June. Yes, that strap. And my first thought wasn't, how did that get there? No, it was, oh, that must be Governor Hochul's strap. You know, considering the way she recently bent all New Yorkers over and welcome to The Truth About Acela, episode number 5.
Please exit through the rear door.
Doors open. I like when you like this, Daddy.
Yeah, where you put my bag?
Daddy, I like when you
right
scrambling
here,
and scraping.
No, I got
I
notes
like
and
that.
shit. I'll be practicing. I got.
Yeah.
Can I just take a moment and appreciate the TO for not point blank violating my ears and just giving the camera a friendly wave? Newark Penn Station has always been a weird station that's kind of difficult to navigate. Luckily, New Jersey Transit has plans to fix that. Currently, Newark Penn Station is going through the Vertical Circulation Improvement Project. This project includes the final design, construction to upgrade, rehabilitate, and replace 11 elevators and 17 escalators within Newark Penn Station. The project will improve accessibility and overall passenger circulation throughout the station, which serves Amtrak's Northeast Corridor services, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey's Port Authority Trans-Hudson Transit Services, also known as PATH, and New Jersey Transit's commuter rail network and local transit services. This $59,200,000 project will be led by New Jersey Transit, but New Jersey Transit isn't doing too well right now. With federal support diminishing, New Jersey Transit is facing an approximately $100 million gap for the 2025 fiscal year and a $1 billion gap for the fiscal year of 2026. Now, the reason why New Jersey Transit is falling so far behind financially is because they've been spending a lot of their funding on the massive backlog of critical infrastructure projects they have. One of those projects is the Gateway Program, which I'll cover in detail later in this video. In order to make up for this funding shortfall, in April of this year, a 15% fare hike was approved. This fare hike will start in July, a couple days from now, and will hopefully be enough to cover the 2025 fiscal year gap. 2026, however, is another story. But let me just get this straight. In less than a year, New Jersey Transit and the MTA both have fare hikes, making it more expensive for transit-dependent people to get around. But as soon as the government starts touching the cars, it's,
oh, now we care about New Yorkers.
And let me just say this, congestion pricing would have affected only people traveling into downtown Manhattan, not the rest of Manhattan, just downtown. But on the other hand, these fare hikes affect everybody in the metro area. In other words, they made getting around more expensive for several million people while pandering to a crowd that doesn't even hit 1 million. The worst part about it is that the state of New Jersey would have been receiving some of the funding from the congestion pricing, and we could assume that this would lighten New Jersey Transit's financial burden. But a governor of a different state basically snatched that funding away. One governor is taking out transit in 2 states. I don't know about you, but I think that's absolutely insane. You know what? If you agree, like the video so that more people can see how dumb this is. We need this hypocrisy to be seen. I mean, it worked in Atlanta.
2056 type decision.
For the rest of this video, I'll be driving an Acela train from Newark Penn Station to New York Penn Station, detailing facts about the Gateway Program, and ranting about congestion pricing. I arrived 5 minutes early due to schedule padding, so let's talk about the first Gateway Program project. The first project on the Gateway Program is the Dock Bridge Rehabilitation. This is a $300,184,000 project led by Amtrak. The project includes the rehabilitation of the Dock Bridge, which crosses the Passaic River, separating Newark and Harrison, New Jersey. The 90-year-old, 6-track, steel through truss bridge will undergo repair of the structural steel, installation of straight steel rails to replace the movable midder rails, repair the concrete piers and fender replacement, and installation of targeted anti-corrosion protection system to slow or stop future degradation to the bridge structure. In other words, actually doing useful maintenance on the bridge after decades of neglect. This project will eliminate a cumulative 48 hours of annual train delays. Speaking of delays, there seems to be a Northeast Regional on the other side of the bridge waiting to pull into track 3. Alright, finally it's time to go. Locking the doors. Oh, excuse me. Just gonna walk into me. Releasing the brakes. Here, take this. Gonna walk into me while I'm trying to get my cinematic shot. Also, last episode, some of you guys asked why I wasn't using cruise control, and yeah, I just forgot the train had it. Not gonna lie. Alright, before we continue, let me turn off the bell. Alright, right now we're passing under the southbound path tracks. And we're about to pass the Northeast Regional that was waiting for us. Not quite sure why he would wait for track 3 when he could use track 4 and 5, but okay. Anyways, this is where our second gateway program is located. Here we're passing the Port Authority Trans-Hudson's Harrison Station. This is where the Harrison 4th track project is located. As you can see, the inner tracks, the Northeast Quarter tracks, have slimmed down into 3 tracks. The Harrison 4th track project will relocate a path track and signaling equipment further north to accommodate 4 tracks for the Northeast Corridor. This project is estimated to cost $141 million. And let me just get this out there. The Port Authority Trans-Hudson is a subsidiary of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. As a part of New York's Congestion Pricing plan, the state of New Jersey will receive some of the funding from the tolls. I mean, it's only fair, right, since New Jersey residents are also being heavily affected by these tolls. Now, a lot of people tend to talk about how these tolls would have affected public transportation inside of New York. But now we also have to talk about how it affects public transportation outside of New York, specifically in New Jersey now. Now, it's not news that the Northeast Corridor is extremely busy. Within any given 5 minutes of observing the Northeast Corridor, you might witness 3 to 4 trains pass by on the line. I say all that to say this. The Northeast Corridor in New Jersey, specifically between Newark Penn Station and New York Penn Station, has reached capacity. The purpose of the Gateway program is to add capacity by adding more tracks. Essentially using the please just one more track bro technique, a technique that should have been used decades ago, but thankfully is at least being used now. Unfortunately, a lot of these projects in the Gateway program are not fully funded. Amtrak, New Jersey Transit, and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey are the main sponsors of the Gateway program. Unfortunately, all of them are severely underfunded, and this leaves projects like this next one we're coming up on at extreme risk of not being completed anytime soon. This is where our third Gateway program project is located. This project includes the replacement of the Sawtooth Bridge. These bridges are 116 years old. The current 1-mile 2-track bridge will be replaced by 2 new 2-track bridges. This way the Northeast Corridor can remain quad-tracked through this section. These new bridges will increase the operational speeds from 60 miles per hour to 90 miles per hour. This Amtrak-led project will cost $1,355,459,000. The project is expected to be completed by February 2034. There goes another 2034 completion date for a project that really shouldn't be taking that long. And just like I said in the previous videos on the series, this is solely due to the fact that these projects aren't fully funded. And as I just said, these transit authorities or government-owned corporations behind these projects aren't sufficiently funded themselves. Somewhere recently, New Jersey Transit detailed the fact that they aren't able to completely support their own services due to the amount of funding that they're spending on these projects. Now you might be saying, what projects? Considering the fact that all the projects I just mentioned aren't actually being built yet. Well, you should be happy to know that there are 2 major ones that are. This is the Portal Bridge, viewed from the New Jersey Turnpike, which is I-95 in this area. New Jersey Transit and Amtrak are replacing the century-old Portal Bridge that carries trains over the Hackensack River. The existing bridge was built by the Pennsylvania Railroad and entered revenue service in November 1910. In the foreground, the new viaduct is being erected, and in the background is the Portal Bridge with a Northeast Regional traveling over it. Which makes sense that I would be catching a train traveling over the bridge, considering that 450 trains use this bridge daily. Even if we unrealistically spread the trains across the entire day, including nighttime, that's a train crossing the bridge around every 3 to 4 minutes. Unfortunately, the current bridge is not just too old, but but it's also too low, requiring it to be rotated in order to let larger vessels through. Due to the bridge's age and its constant need to be rotated, the bridge often breaks down and gets stuck in the open or shut position. This ends up creating hours of delays for Amtrak and New Jersey Transit customers. Fortunately, you may have noticed that the brand new viaducts for this new bridge are a lot taller than the existing ones. This allows for the new bridge to be a fixed bridge, increasing the overall reliability of the Northeast Corridor. The new bridge is nearly 2.5 miles long and provides 50 feet of clearance over the river, which is way better than the current 23 feet of clearance the existing bridge provides. The new bridge will also be able to handle trains up to 90 miles per hour, instead of the current bridge's 60 mile per hour limit. Speeds on the existing bridge were lowered to 60 miles per hour due to a derailment in 1996, where two Amtrak trains sideswiped each other due to a misalignment in the tracks. So yeah. On a good note, the new bridge is already over 50% complete. The project is about a year ahead of schedule and is planned to be completed by 2027. This is what you get when you actually fully fund your projects. It should be noted that once this bridge is completed, a secondary 2-track bridge that's basically symmetric to it will be built alongside it, which will allow this section to match the quad tracking from the rest of the corridor and double capacity on the line. Alright, so here's the location of our 5th Gateway Program project. This is where a proposed project called the Bergen or Secaucus Loop will be located. This loop would allow New Jersey Transit's Main Line, Bergen County Line, Port Jefferson Line, and Pascack Line access to Penn Station. This would give riders on those lines a one-seat ride into New York City, as currently they have to transfer here at Secaucus Junction. Overall, this plan was kind of funky considering that the trains would have to run through Secaucus Junction twice, which to me makes me wonder if this project was really worth it. In the end, this project would pretty much be put on the back burner for the other, what I'd call, more important projects. Overall, I don't know if the Bergen Loop will ever be completed soon, considering the fact that this project is a very, very, very low priority, and rightfully so. I can only really see this loop being useful for game day shuttles to MetLife Stadium, and the Giants and Jets suck anyways, so...
That one there was a violation personally.
If you notice, I haven't been traveling at the track speed limit almost this entire time. And this goes to the topic of schedule padding. Schedule padding, which I believe most of us probably know, but if you don't, is when a transit authority, company, or railroad pads their schedule by adding extra time to it. Padding schedules help services run on time. And I'm putting quote unquote on time because that's really not the case. Since Amtrak's Northeast Corridor services share the line with commuter rail agencies, there's often a lot of train traffic. This becomes especially noticeable in sections where the corridor slims down to 2 tracks. Here we're following the New Jersey Transit train that we just saw left Newark. The train in front of us had to make a stop at Secaucus Junction, and because we're behind it, we couldn't go the full 90 mile per hour speed limit on the line. Unlike the last episode where I was stuck getting approach signals for no reason, this is an actual valid issue that happens in real life. And even though we're getting all of these yellow approach signals, we will still arrive on time. This is actually one of the main reasons why the Acela's average speed is so slow. The service is purposely scheduled slow in order to make up for any possible disturbances in the schedule. But that doesn't mean that the Acela will always be slowed down by other trains. Hence the reason why looking at the average speed of the Acela isn't the best way to tell whether or not the service is fast. Because in reality, the average speed completely varies, and the Gateway program is meant to eliminate this variation. Right now we're in the famous Portal Tunnel. These 2 tunnels carry the Northeast Corridor into Manhattan. These 2 tunnels alongside the Portal Bridge opened up in 1910 for service at Penn Station, and these tunnels have been through a lot, including Hurricane Sandy, which absolutely destroyed them. The salt water from the flooding has corroded almost every single inch of the tunnel, doing a number on the tracks, the concrete, and also the electrical equipment. New Jersey Transit and Amtrak trains, especially in the past couple of weeks, have been dealing with massive delays up to 2 hours due to this dilapidated infrastructure. And these delays aren't pretty. Backed up overcrowded trains, overcrowded stations, and considering that Amtrak and New Jersey Transit are basically playing Russian roulette with the Portal Bridge, every time they open it and close it and open it and close it, This is a nightmare. This is why, along with the new Portal Bridge replacement, Amtrak and New Jersey Transit are planning to construct 2 new tunnels under the Hudson River. These 2 new tunnels will allow the Northeast Corridor to stay quad-tracked all the way into Penn Station. Trains would come off of a retainment field onto a viaduct, curve away from the current tunnel approaches, over Conrail, under Tunnelly Ave, and into the new tunnels. Work on the Tunnelly Ave overpass has already began, and is slated to be finished by 2026. Alright, if you're familiar with this area, you might have noticed that we're going a little bit off course. Alright, maybe not a little bit. This is where the existing tunnels are. And this is where the new tunnels are. Yeah, it's not great. And trust me when I say I searched high and low for the reasoning of this. I mean, what could they really be so scared of underneath that water that they would rather tunnel under Union City, damn near Hoboken, just to get around it? Could it be a military secret? An underground geothermal pool? A kaiju sleeping under the Hudson River waiting to attack New York? Property acquisition. It's property acquisition. So apparently 4 alignments were on the table, neither of them being straight and direct due to lack of suitable locations for a ventilation facility and the fact that the pre-built tunnel blocks for this project in Manhattan under the Hudson Yards comes at an angle. Option 4, the option they're going with, that has the longest tunnel, requires the least amount of property acquisition. So even though the initial cost and time for the tunneling is more expensive and longer than the other alternatives, it faces the least chance of pushback, which basically means it's the one they had the most public confidence in. In the study, there was no significant time increase found with this alignment, which, I mean, sure. I think most writers would take anything over the original tunnels at this point. Anyways, once in Manhattan, there's another ventilation facility. Then we enter the Hudson Yards concrete casing, the train box that's been sitting around for this project for several years by now, and finally connecting with the rest of the tracks into Penn Station. Once these tunnels are built, the old ones that we're traveling through right now will be shut down one by one for rehabilitation. Once the rehabilitation is completed, the tunnels will reopen, allowing for 4 tracks into Penn Station. Service levels will not increase once the new tunnels are built and the old ones are rehabilitated due to the lack of capacity in Penn Station, which on the downside means no increased levels of train service, but on the upside means that with the additional tunnels and the current max level of trains into Penn Station during rush hour means that trains don't have to crawl through the Hudson tunnels like we are. So basically there will be the same number of services through the Hudson River tunnels during rush hour, but faster, which I think is a good start. Alright, speaking of lack of capacity at Penn Station, let's talk about the Penn Station expansion project. Let's start off with the station approach. The Empire Service track approach into the station will need to be lowered in order to meet the profile of the new Hudson River tunnels. This will allow for a new L ladder to be built so that trains from the new Hudson River tunnel could reach all platforms of the station. This is guaranteed. What isn't guaranteed is Penn Station South, which occupies a block south of the current Penn Station, between 7th and 8th Avenue. This city block is currently occupied by private development and would need to be completely razed in order to build the expansion to the station, which, 1, this property acquisition would be really expensive, over $1 billion, and 2, people aren't that happy about this proposal. So I'm not quite sure if this will ever happen actually, and I'll go into this project a little bit more in depth when I talk about Penn Station in the next episode. I'll also cover through running for New Jersey Transit, Metro North, and the LIRR, and why I think it's a horrible idea, so make sure to get this video to 300 likes for that. But as we crawl through A interlocking and Penn Station, let me just give my final thoughts on Governor Hochul's decision for congestion pricing. It was a cowardly decision. I don't know what other word to call it. It's like, you know how in zombie movies or in an apocalypse movie where all the characters will come up with a plan to survive, and there's always that one character that panics and then goes off and does their own thing and ends up getting themselves killed or other people killed? Yeah, that's kind of what this decision felt like. Her decision was a selfish political decision that actually ended up costing her more votes than she actually gained from it. I wonder why. Maybe because the state of New York and New Jersey have the lowest car ownerships of the entire country, with the state of New York having a lower car ownership than the Netherlands and the UK, which means the majority of people in these states use public transportation to some capacity and knows how crappy and dilapidated our public transportation infrastructure is. So obviously cutting that funding possibility to fix this infrastructure was going to backfire. No wonder your ratings have never been lower. I have no clue who advised her to do this. She definitely rode the political sewer slide with this one. And the worst part is, by hiking transit fares and not doing the same to cars, all she did was incentivize more people to drive. Lastly, for those New Yorkers who are actually upset about the possibility of having congestion pricing, I know a way you can dodge the congestion pricing tolls legally. As a New Yorker, I've been doing it for decades. Let's say you live outside of the city. You can drive to the nearest train station to the city and take the train one stop or a couple stops into downtown Manhattan. There are over 25 New Jersey transit stations within 5 miles of New York City. The reason they have parking at these stations is so that you can park and ride. Park and ride. It's literally in the name. Not only is the train faster to get into downtown Manhattan, but it's also cheaper because now you don't have to pay for parking in downtown Manhattan. When the main argument against congestion pricing is paying a higher fee, it doesn't make any sense because it would literally be cheaper to take public transportation. In other words, if you're too broke to drive, then either A, get your bread up, or B, join the rest of us, including the millionaires who use public transportation daily. Damn.
You ain't nothing but a broke boy.
I don't know if that's going to stay in the video or not. It might get copyrighted.